No one wanted her until a human whispered, "You're safe now." Zara pressed her back against the weathered brick wall of the employment center, her luminescent blue skin making her stand out like a beacon among the crowd of humans hurrying past. Her delicate fingers traced the rejection letter she'd received that morning, the 47th one in 3 months. Each, "We regret to inform you," felt like another door slamming shut. She had fled her dying homeworld of Leros when the atmospheric processes failed, leaving behind everything she'd ever known. The refugee ship had dropped her here on Kepler Station, a bustling trade hub where species from across the galaxy mingled, yet somehow she remained invisible. Her stomach growled, reminding her that she hadn't eaten in 2 days. The credits she'd saved were nearly gone, spent on applications and interviews that led nowhere. Too different, they always said. Cultural barriers. Insurance complications. The words were always polite, but the meaning was clear: not wanted here. As evening approached, Zara found herself walking toward the residential district, watching through windows at families sharing meals. The warm light spilling onto the sidewalks felt like mockery. She'd tried everything, learning perfect standard, studying human customs, even attempting to dim her natural bioluminescence with makeup. Nothing worked. A group of teenagers noticed her and started whispering, pointing at her unusual appearance. Their laughter followed her as she quickened her pace, seeking the shadows between buildings. This was her reality now, always on the outside, always alone. She settled on a bench in a small park, pulling her worn jacket tighter around her shoulders. The artificial stars of the station's dome twinkled above, but they couldn't warm the cold emptiness in her chest. Tomorrow she would try again, she told herself, send more applications, knock on more doors, smile through more rejections. But tonight she allowed herself to feel the weight of her isolation. Her people had been known for their empathic abilities, their deep connections to one another. Here that gift felt more like a curse, as she constantly sensed the discomfort and fear her presence caused in others. A gentle rain began to fall, the station's weather system cycling through its programmed patterns. Zara didn't move, letting the drops mix with the tears she'd been holding back. The rain had stopped, but Zara remained on the bench, lost in memories of home when footsteps approached. She tensed, expecting another person to hurry past while avoiding eye contact. Instead, someone sat down beside her. "Rough day?" The voice was warm, tinged with a slight accent she couldn't place. Zara looked up to see a human man, perhaps 30 years old, with kind brown eyes and dark hair damp from the rain. He wore the simple clothes of a station worker, his hands showing the calluses of honest labor. "I'm sorry, I'll move," she said automatically, starting to stand. "Don't." His hand gestured gently for her to stay. "I wasn't trying to chase you off. Just seemed like you could use some company." She studied his face, searching for the usual signs of discomfort or pity. Instead, she found genuine concern. "I'm Marcus," he said, extending his hand. "Zara," she replied hesitantly, taking it. His skin was warm against her naturally cool touch, and she noticed he didn't flinch at the contact. "You're Lyrian," he observed, not as a question, but as simple recognition. She nodded, surprised. Most humans couldn't distinguish between the various blue-skinned species. "How did you know?" "The pattern of your bioluminescence," he said, gesturing to the faint tracery of light beneath her skin. "I spent some time on the outer rim stations, worked with a Lyrian engineer named Vel. Good man. Taught me that those patterns are as unique as fingerprints." For the first time in months, Zara felt truly seen, not as an alien curiosity or a problem to be solved, but as an individual. Most people just see blue skin and assume we're all the same. Marcus shook his head. "Their loss. Diversity makes the galaxy interesting." He paused, then added quietly, "I know what it's like to feel like you don't belong anywhere." Something in his tone made her look at him more carefully. Beneath his easy demeanor, she sensed a familiar loneliness, the ache of displacement, of searching for a place to call home. "Where are you from?" she asked. "Originally, Earth colony designation XB7, mining planet. Not much left there now." His voice carried old pain. "Been wandering for about 5 years, doing odd jobs, trying to figure out what comes next." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, two souls adrift in the vast machinery of galactic civilization. The station bumped around them, vendors closing their stalls, families heading home, the eternal rhythm of life moving forward. "Are you hungry?" Marcus asked suddenly. "I know a place that serves decent food, and the owner doesn't much care what species his customers are." Zara's stomach chose that moment to growl audibly, making them both laugh. It was the first time. She'd laughed in weeks. "I don't have much money," she admitted. "My treat," he said, standing and offering his hand again. "Call it a welcome to the neighborhood." The small cafe Marcus led her to was tucked away in a forgotten corner of the station's lower levels. The owner, a gruff centaurian with 4 arms, barely looked up as they entered. The smell of exotic spices and grilled protein filled the air, making Zara's mouth water. "2 of the usual, Korvac," Marcus called out, settling into a booth across. "Who from her the human brings a friend," Korvac rumbled, his voice like grinding stone. "Good, too skinny this one." He gestured at Marcus with 2 of his arms, while continuing to cook with the other 2. Zara found herself smiling at the casual interaction. Here, in this humble place, species seemed to matter less than simply being decent to one another. "So," Marcus said, leaning forward slightly, "what brought you to Kepler Station?" She told him about Lyros, about the environmental collapse that had forced her people to scatter across the galaxy. Her voice caught as she described saying goodbye to her parents at the refugee processing center. "They stayed behind to help with the evacuation," she explained. "I haven't heard from them since." Marcus listened without judgment, his eyes never leaving her face. When she spoke of the endless rejections, the nights sleeping in storage bays, the growing desperation, he nodded, with understanding. "What kind of work were you looking for?" he asked. "Anything, really. I have degrees in xenobiology and systems integration, but I'd take cleaning jobs, food service, cargo loading." She laughed bitterly. Apparently, even desperation has its limits. Korvac arrived with 2 steaming bowls of stew. The rich aroma made Zara dizzy with hunger. She ate slowly at first, then with increasing enthusiasm as the warmth spread through her body. "This is incredible," she said between bites. "Korvac's been feeding misfits and wanderers for 20 years, Marcus said. "This place is kind of a sanctuary." As they ate, Marcus told her about his own journey, the mining accident that had killed his family, his years drifting from job to job, never staying anywhere long enough to form real connections. "Why here?" Zara asked. "What made you stop wandering?" He was quiet for a moment, stirring his stew thoughtfully. "Honestly, I was tired. And tired of running, tired of being alone, tired of pretending I didn't need anyone." He looked up at her. "Sometimes you just have to pick a place and decide to make it home." After dinner, they walked through the station's observation deck, looking out at the stars through the massive transparent aluminum windows. Ships came and went in the distance, carrying their passengers to destinations unknown. "Do you miss it?" Zara asked. "The traveling?" "Sometimes," Marcus admitted. "But there's something to be said for waking up in the same bed every morning. For having neighbors who know your name." He glanced at her. "What about you? Do you think you'll stay here or move on if things don't work out?" Zara considered the question. A week ago, she would have said she'd keep moving until she found acceptance, but something had shifted tonight. Maybe it was the food, or the kindness, or simply the relief of genuine human connection. "I think," she said slowly, "I'd like to try staying, if I can find a reason to." Their eyes met, And in that moment, both of them felt the subtle gravity of possibility, the sense that their separate journeys might be converging into something new. 3 months had passed since that rainy evening in the park. Zara now had a small apartment 2 levels up from Marcus's, a job at a xenobiology research lab, and something she'd almost given up hope of finding, a sense of belonging. Marcus had been instrumental in her transformation from outcast to community member. He'd introduced her to his network of friends and acquaintances, vouched for her character with potential employers, and slowly helped her see herself through kinder eyes. But somewhere along the way, friendship had begun blooming into something deeper. It started with small moments, the way her heart skipped when she heard his laugh echo through the station corridors, how she found excuses to visit the maintenance bay where he worked, the electric feeling when their hands accidentally touched while sharing a meal at Korvac's cafe. Tonight, they were walking through the station's arboretum, a vast greenhouse that housed plants from dozens of worlds. The air was thick with the perfume of night-blooming flowers, and bioluminescent fungi cast a gentle blue glow that complemented Zara's natural radiance. "I got news today," she said, trying to keep her voice casual. "The research team wants to send someone to the Antares conference. Dr. Voss recommended me." Marcus stopped walking, turning to face her with delight. "Zara, that's incredible. The Antares conference is huge, career-making stuff." She nodded, but her expression was conflicted. "It's a 6-month assignment, maybe longer if they like my work there." The implications hung in the air between them. Just as she'd found a home, an opportunity was calling her away from it. More specifically, away from him. They continued walking in silence until they reached a secluded grove where earth cherry trees bloomed alongside Rigelian crystal flowers. Marcus sat on a bench beneath the impossible beauty of interstellar horticulture. "You have to go," he said finally. "This is what you've been working toward, is it?" Zara sat beside him, close enough that their shoulders touched. 6 months ago, yes. But now I'm not sure what I want anymore." Marcus turned to face her, and she saw her own conflicted feelings reflected in his eyes. "What do you mean?" She took a breath, gathering courage. "I mean that for the first time in my life, I have something I don't want to leave behind. Someone I don't want to leave behind." The words hung in the perfumed air. Marcus reached out slowly, his fingers tracing the luminescent patterns on her cheek. "Zara, I know it's complicated," she whispered. "Different species, different lifespans, different biological needs. But I can't pretend anymore that what I feel for you is just friendship." Instead of answering with words, Marcus leaned forward and kissed her. His lips were warm and soft, tasting faintly of the sweet tea they'd shared earlier. Zara's bioluminescence flared brighter, painting them both in ethereal blue light. When they parted, both were breathing hard. "I've been wanting to do that for weeks," Marcus admitted. "Why didn't you?" "Because I was afraid," he said honestly. "Afraid you'd feel pressured. Afraid I was reading too much into your kindness. Afraid of ruining the best thing that's ever happened to me." Zara laughed softly, taking his hand in hers. "The best thing?" "Having you in my life," he said simply. "Watching you transform from that scared, lonely girl on the bench into this confident, brilliant woman. Being part of your journey, having you be part of mine." They held each other in the garden, surrounded by the impossible beauty of a dozen worlds, and for the first time, both of them felt truly complete. Part 5. Forever. Home 1 year later, Zara stood at the observation deck where she and Marcus had shared so many conversations. But today was different. Today, she wasn't alone, and she wasn't leaving. The Antares conference had been everything she'd hoped for professionally. Her research on cross-species adaptation had earned recognition from the galactic scientific community. Job offers had poured in from prestigious institutions across known space. She'd turned them all down. "Any regrets?" Marcus asked, joining her at the window. He was dressed in his finest clothes, which for a maintenance worker meant clean coveralls, and a pressed shirt, but to her he'd never looked more handsome. "None," she said, meaning it completely. "My place is here, with you." Today was their bonding ceremony, a blend of human and Lyrian traditions that had taken months to plan. Korvac had closed his cafe to cater the reception, friends from across. The station had gathered to celebrate, and even Dr. Voss had come to give her away. But the most important moment had been when Zara's parents had appeared on the communication screen, having finally been relocated to a safe colony world. Seeing their faces, hearing their approval of her choice, had filled the last empty space in her heart. "Mrs. Chen," Marcus said, trying out her new human surname. "I still think it sounds strange," she laughed. "On Lyros, we don't change our names. When we bond." "But you're not just on Lyros anymore," he reminded her. "You're creating something new, something that's uniquely ours." She turned from the window to face him fully. In the year they'd been together, she'd learned to read every expression on his face. Right now, she saw love, contentment, and something else, a deep peace that mirrored her own. "Do you remember what you said that first night?" she asked. "About picking a place and deciding to make it home." "I remember." "I thought you meant choosing a location," she said, moving closer to him. "But that's not what you meant, is it?" Marcus shook his head, reaching up to touch the delicate patterns of light that danced across her skin. "Home isn't a place," he said. "It's a person, it's this, us, together, building something that never existed before." They kissed as the stars wheeled overhead, and Zara felt the last of her old loneliness dissolve. She had been rejected by hundreds of doors, wandered through countless corridors, searched desperately for a place to belong. She'd never imagined that home would find her instead, in the form of a kind human with calloused hands and a generous heart. Someone who saw past her differences to the person she truly was, and who had chosen to build a life with her among the stars. The observation deck around them hummed with the life of the station, thousands of beings from hundreds of worlds, all seeking their own version of belonging. Some would find it, others would keep searching. But tonight, in this moment, Zara and Marcus had everything they needed. They had each other, and that was home enough for any universe.